Untitled Everything.
Alright guys, we are back at it again. Make a website, boundaries and space, boundaries and space. So there's a couple things you gotta know here. You have your margin, padding, content. They do a really good job with these images. Whoever they hired to do these, I've always been rather impressed with it. So good job, man. Content is what you put in there, images, text. Padding is kind of the space around it. Border, what do they call it? Outside HTML page, you can think of it like a picture frame sort of thing. And the margin is additional space. That's kind of how I think of it. Similar to padding. I often get them too confused. Alright. Excuse my phone dying there. Alright, so the web browser currently displays Tundra Gallery's homepage. Let's give each gallery item a border. So we're going to go to main.css. We're looking for the class. Again, class is denoted by the dot gallery item, and we just want to add a border that adds a 5-pixel border along with, and we want that border to be solid, and then we want it to, and you'll see right now exactly what a border is. /ff. Now when we run it, you'll notice that it's kind of hard to see right here, but there is a little grayish white, or I think it's white actually, border around it. So alright, so now in the page description, you'll see right here, the page description class, we want to give it some padding. Now, when you're defining padding, padding can be anything from, it can be to the left, to the right, to the top, to the bottom, but if you just put one value in, it's going to apply it to all of them, each direction. So, it's a little hard to see here, but we'll keep going. You'll see the padding, so it added 30 pixels of padding. So let's see if we can, so this was page description, so that's our page description. So we can add 200 and it should be very rampant. So you'll see there's a lot more padding on each side here. So let's just go back and fix that. Run that and go to next. So there's 30 padding top, bottom, left, right. So gallery item. So currently in gallery item we only have a margin of about 2. So what we want in this case is we want to give it 20 pixels. In this, the margin will give it 20 pixels between each other. So padding is with the object, margin is between each other. So you'll see right here everyone has about 20 pixels between each other. Pretty cool. And this is, I mean, a lot of web design is your styling in general. So like the content in HTML is pretty straightforward, and then you have to kind of have an eye of what looks good. So even if you know how CSS works, you still have to kind of have a design mentality behind it. Alright, so we're in main CSS. We're looking for a contained inside a div class gallery. There's a gallery class selector. Here it is. And we want to just set the top here to add 20 pixels, it looks like. And this is how you would do it for margin. You just go margin desktop, 20 pixels. Alright, so block versus inline elements. This will be one of the most semi-annoying things to remember, but it's kind of how it goes sometimes. So sometimes if you have a block, how to explain? So when something's displayed inline, it allows you to kind of put these empty spaces there. When it's block, you think of it as a block for the whole thing, essentially most of the time, or a block around the item. So it'll just be simpler to showcase it. So in this case, nav li selector, give it display of property. Alright, so we're looking for nav li. Cool. So in this case, we want to give it a property. We want to give it the property display with the value inline. So now when we run this, let's see here. So you'll see how it's inline. Now let's go ahead and take that away because we didn't actually showcase it without it. Oops, excuse me. What is going on here? Alright, so display inline. We'll go ahead and run that. Maybe just by default it's gonna run. Interesting. It should be doing something slightly different, but perhaps I'm mistaken, or it could just be the sizing. It actually works out the same way as well. So let's see here. Assign float right. Okay, so floating right will allow some, like say you have a text and you want the image to float right, you then float, send the image to the right, and the text would kind of work its way around. And you could like float center, float left as well. So in this case, our contact button here, we're just going to go ahead and send it to the right. Or float it in this case. So we're just going to go contact button. Here it is here. And then we're going to give it the property float and to the right. And you again, you can do this to the left, to the right, to the center. And now when we run it, you'll see that it's right here. And not only is it right here, because we're floating it, it's also, unless we put something else, it's also just going to float to the right. It's going to let all the other things be okay, but as long as nothing's there, it's still going to go to the right. It's going to be in the same thing as well. It's going to allow things to work around it. That's part of floating. Okay, so lots of stuff here. I highly suggest kind of reading through this if you're not as familiar with it. Like display flex. I don't know. What's flex? Display flex. Children's div class program online horizontally. Okay. Alright, so we are in our gallery class selector min CS. Let's set the property to flex. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So these are all lined up, and now we want to set it to flex. Gallery class. So we'll set display flex, and we'll run it. Alright, cool. Now let's see what's going on here. So when we flex it, it looks like it's going to run it all the way off the page. If this is, I bet if we zoom out, we can get more. Interesting. I've never used display flex. I could see why I would never have used it, because it doesn't seem like a very good idea with responsive design, but I guess the more you know in this case. Alright, to solve this below display flex, create a flex wrap property and set it to wrap. Okay, so now I see what's going on here. So we'll say just like create a flex wrap. So we'll say flex dash wrap, and we'll set the property to wrap. Now when we run it, let's see how that works differently. And so now we have a little bit more responsive design. Instead of it going off the side, it's coming down to the bottom. Not exactly perfect because things aren't evenly spaced, but it's better than what it was. And now we just want to add the property justify content to center. Now we run that. Cool. And now you'll see that everything's centered, everything's kind of beautiful, and because of our padding and spacing, everything is, our margin and padding I should say, everything's working out much better. So we're gonna do a little bit of, what are we doing here? Oh, we're gonna add an anchor. We're to the anchor button here, and we're gonna say position relative. Alright, so they've already added the anchor. We have our contact there. Our position relative seems to be working. Now, on active, so this is kind of a, how do you explain? I actually don't know what to term it. A pseudo class selector, that's what it's called. So basically it means when you're hovering over it or you're clicking it. So what we want to do is go top to PX. So when we click it, you're gonna see that it's moving down slightly, and that in effect is going to create a sort of animation effect. You probably would do something like this more in JavaScript, but this is kind of cool that you can do it in CSS. I like that. I like that they showed that. It's always cool when they go that extra mile, do things like that. So that was boundaries in space. Definitely, these CSS skills right here are. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. I just want to show it. But these are all pretty important at the end of the day. I highly recommend kind of being familiar with most of these things. Again, I'm not very familiar with Flex, but it may or may not be important in responsive design. But it looks like we have one lesson left. So, as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video. Guys, I just want to say thank you to Turkey Mandrake for sponsoring this video. He has his first of songs up on YouTube, and you can see him just by clicking the annotation, the card, or the description below. His new song, Over and Under, is a song about anti-bullying, and it's very good. It's a rock song. So check it out, and see you guys next time.